Today on Rosh Hashanah we declare Hayom Harat Olam. Today a world is conceived. In this theme, our Torah and our Haftarah readings on Rosh Hashanah, they connect us to stories of conceptions and to births of children long hoped for. Today, we'll read about Sarah, who previously was a barren woman, an akara. We'll read about her conceiving and giving birth to Yitzchak, to Isaac. But most of the text is not actually focused on Isaac's birth. Rather, the Torah relays a somewhat complicated and painful story of Sarah banishing Hagar and Ishmael. And as we read, there's a temptation to pick sides. We'll want to decide who's the villain of the story. Is it Sarah? Is it Abraham? Is it Hagar and Ishmael? Who's at fault? And who is the victim? Now, to decide that, we'll have to look at one very specific and vague word, on what Sarah actually sees that causes her to send Hagar and Ishmael away. The Torah tells us, "Vatere Sarah et ben Hagar hamitzrit asher yalda leAvram metzachek." And Sarah saw the son of Hagar the Egyptian, whom she had borne to Abraham, metzachek. At a party for Isaac's weaning, when he's about 2 or 3 years old, Sarah sees Ishmael doing this verb, metzachek. Now the word comes from the same root as Yitzchak's name, laughter. But the word carries very different meanings throughout Tanakh, so its meaning here is unclear. It may simply mean that Ishmael is just playing or laughing, maybe alone, maybe with his younger brother. And Sarah may see this and feel troubled by their closeness or their sense of equality. Scholar translator Robert Alter suggests that Ishmael was imitating Isaac. Alter writes, "Given her son's name in this crucial verb, we may also be invited to construe it as Isaacing it. That is, Sarah sees Ishmael presuming to play the role of Isaac, the child of laughter, presuming to be the legitimate heir." Alter reads this Isaacing as the problem. For Sarah, there's only room for one powerful child in the family. But elsewhere in Torah, metzachek carries more troubling meanings. In other contexts, it means mocking or ridiculing, laughter that comes as a result of degrading someone. So Ishmael may actually be cruelly mocking either Isaac or perhaps Sarah. And even more disturbingly, in 2 other places, it carries a sexual connotation, which if we read that here, metzachek becomes a deeply troubling story of a teenage Ishmael molesting his toddler brother. And that, I think, would give Sarah a good cause to do anything to protect her child. But the Torah doesn't decide for us how innocent or how harmful Ishmael's action may be. And I'd like to suggest that maybe we shouldn't either, unsatisfying as that might feel. I'd like to suggest that we not choose a victim or a villain in this story, but just to follow what happens next, Sarah instructing Abraham to send Hagar and Ishmael away. And though they will suffer at first, God will ultimately take care of Hagar and Ishmael. Torah tells us very specifically that God is with Ishmael. Now, we could just end the Torah reading here. We'll have seen moments along the way of God noticing, seeing, and hearing Sarah, Abraham, Hagar, and Ishmael at all these different moments of the story. But I want to draw our attention to where our reading today actually ends. It's maybe a place that we wouldn't have paid much attention to. The very ending of our reading, we'll see Abraham alone, planting an eshel, and calling to God. What is an eshel? It's a unique word. It only occurs 3 times in all of Tanakh. And it may be a single tree that Abraham plants, specifically a tamarisk tree. You can look that up later, what that is. But the Talmud offers two other interpretations of what Abraham plants. Either he planted an entire orchard full of beautiful, sweet plants, or alternatively, that Abraham opened an inn to welcome strangers. This then becomes a story not about who is right or who is wrong, or who harmed who, or who suffered the most. And it's also not a story about reconciliation or resolution between people. Instead, our ending gives us a story about how after everything, Abraham still goes on planting trees, beauty, possibility for connection. These are times of conflict, of loneliness, and of grief for each of us. And there will be more. But there is always something to be planted, something to be conceived. Which is not to say that out of every dark place comes light, or that of every broken relationship it'll reconcile, or that every tragedy will ultimately end well. We know that's not true. But we have to keep imagining a better world. Because to be barren is to be akara, to be very literally uprooted or unplanted. Instead, like Abraham, we have to plant, we have to root, to conceive of a better world within ourselves so that we can bring a better world into being. Hayom harat olam. Today, each of us, an entire world unto ourselves, plant something new. Shana Tova.